If you thought the border crisis was bad, it's even worse than you think. We have new undercover footage that shows us the Red Cross is actively helping migrants head north towards our border, fueling what some are now calling the border industrial complex. So here to break it down for us is Mike Howell. He's the executive director of Oversight Project. So Mike, thanks once again for joining us. You're fresh off your auto pen appearance here on the show. And now, what are you going to bring to us from the Red Cross?
Yeah, Red Cross, courtesy of your U.S. tax dollars, heading down to Colombia, right south of the most dangerous jungle in the world, the Darien Gap, where, the Red Cross is supposed to be keeping people out of danger. It's telling them how to go into the jungle where there's jungle cats, like nomadic gangs and all sorts of danger. Also, they can illegally immigrate to the United States. It's still happening and you're still paying for it.
This really is insane. I mean, zoom out for a minute, though, and talk to us about the border industrial complex.
So the border industrial complex means basically all of the different entities, to include the international organizations. A lot of this is through the UN, International Organization for Migration, some of the supernatural or national NGOs like Open Societies Foundation, et cetera. And then part of it, too, is the hundreds of millions of dollars we spent per year during the Biden administration to not only facilitate the movement of people around the United States once they break into the country, but to get them here in the first place. It is an entire, well-organized, decades-long in the making complex. And it is what allowed the country to be invaded over the Biden administration. It could not have been accomplished without the coordinated effort. And this means things as simple as handing people water and shelter and plane tickets, to the more complex, to organizing the legal efforts to help people lie on their asylum applications. And then also the political pressure campaigns that manifest here in the United States. And you hear their same talking points all the way from the White House and the Biden administration to Congress on a daily basis.
Well, I don't think that anybody in our audience is going to be like, oh my gosh, the Red Cross, they're such a great organization, right? This has kind of been known for some time. But how do they get away with like the narrative of all of this? Just saying, going through this and saying, how do you go through and actually try to make this appealing to the American people in one way or another?
Yeah, good luck, Red Cross. They're in the political hot seat. And, it's a very organized structure of the Red Cross. You have like the mega Red Cross, then the national affiliates. So this is the Colombian Red Cross, which the United States does fund in some capacity. But for the Red Cross name brand, I think they're in serious jeopardy. I mean, this is an organization which people, when they hear the name, think of assisting people in need of disaster resources and whatnot, not pushing them into a disaster like they are in Colombia. I know Joe at the Blaze, who published the great exclusive, reached out to them for comment, heard nothing. That doesn't surprise me. What I think is going to force them to comment and should happen next is both the United States Congress and the White House and all the other technicals for which they have relationships in the U.S. government should be asking questions of them. What the heck have you been doing with our money? And tell us why you deserve a single more cent.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that we're learning, that what you're doing is so important because it's showing the granular details of how this thing worked. And people might know, like Red Cross, they've gone woke and everything's gone woke and whatever, and somehow all these illegals are coming in. Go into some of the details about this that are really striking. I mean, what were they actually doing on the ground?
Yeah, all sorts of stuff. I mean, one of the big clips in that video is they have a psychiatrist. Think about this. The Red Cross has a psychiatrist to mentally prepare illegal aliens from all around the world, not just, people from south of, the border in our hemisphere, but people from all over every single continent in the world who've traversed through the Darien Gap. Preparing them with the psychological fortitude, I guess they need to know they're about to enter one of the most dangerous jungles and potentially be kidnapped by tribes. But then also things like giving them food and water and maps, how to navigate and get into the U.S. illegally. Everything in which one illegal could need to get to the U.S., the Red Cross is attempting to provide them. And they're working side by side with another organization. This is why we have to use the term border industrial complex, because there's so many of them. Med Global down there, who's providing other resources. And then once they get through the Darien Gap and go on north, they're going to be greeted by more NGOs that help them along the way. And if they are, quote unquote, lucky enough to break into the U.S., they'll be met by even more of our domestic-based NGOs to make sure they have everything not only they need to survive in the U.S., but also to evade ICE. This is what we put out, just last week. Some of our taxpayer-funded nonprofits, this one in New York, are advising businesses on how to basically harden their defenses in case ICE shows up. I mean, this one place, a restaurant, had a button called La Migra, which they would push in case ICE shut up, that alerted the illegals that, now it's time to hide and to put the restaurant into shutdown mode, all with your tax dollars.
So you just laid out the problems very well there. So what does Donald Trump and Tom Homan, what do they need to do then to secure the border and actually stop and in return some normalcy down to this border?
Right. So they've done a pretty good job on the border thus far, but the complex is still pushing people through. The best thing they could do, the most important thing they can do, because this is the most important border security you could have, is mass deportations. This never ends completely until illegals know that more likely than not, they will be deported as soon as they get here. And so what Tom Homan and the White House need is a massive supercharging of ICE removal resources to get people deported. That doesn't just mean criminal illegals. In other words, only 400,000 out of the 20 plus million here. It means everyone who's in the country illegally. There are the resources for ICE and any other entity that wants to assist to be able to remove them ASAP. We need to get millions and millions of people out until everyone else in the world realizes it's not worth it to come.
So we got Med Global, we got Red Cross, we got these agencies that now proven, we've seen what they've done, and it's even psychologically preparing, as you say, with a psychologist to get you pumped up and give you all the tools you need to go across the Darien Gap where 55 people die in 2024. And meet you on the other side. The whole thing is open. You just laid it bare, right? Okay, so how do we punish these bastards? What do we do to these NGOs who are basically tearing down the country and supporting the violation of the rule of law? Is there a way to punish them now?
Yeah, so NGOs usually operate with some sort of tax exempt status from the IRS, which has kind of been handed out like candy over recent years, particularly in the rise of the Obama administration, when they figured out they could just pay NGOs to do things they otherwise couldn't constitutionally do. And so one massive hammer the administration has is revoking the IRS exemptions. They also need to criminally prosecute some of these people to set an example. Some of our work has resulted in not only the NGO we expose shutting down, but ones in their immediate networks also changing behaviors or shutting down. And so criminally prosecuting them from the administration and Department of Justice would send a massive deterrent throughout the community. And to date, there's not any that I could think of that's actually been prosecuted outside of Texas going after a few. There needs to be massive efforts to recoup and demand back the funds that have already been given out, and they're still winding through the system. And then moreover, these NGOs exist because they can deliver on the end good, which is illegal immigration and remaining in the US. So if we were to flip that on its head and have people realistically expect they will be deported, then these nonprofits won't have a business line anymore. And so mass deportations is the simplest thing we can do, but there's a lot of other things we can do in the interim.
This is incredible stuff, and I hope you keep it up, and I hope Tom Homan and others take up the charge here, because we have to hold these NGOs accountable after the fact. And the worst thing that could happen, right, is that we just keep on moving, and they just keep on moving. We pretend this didn't happen, but it did happen. I have to ask you though, what else is Project Oversight working on? What else are you working on right now? Anything else that our viewers should know about?
Yeah, absolutely. So one thing that's taken up a lot of our attention is you've noticed these executive orders from President Trump as it relates to the weaponized law firms, and they're setting aside massive pro bono amounts. Well, we've gone to virtually all of them and asked them for $10 million each. And so we're testing whether these law firms actually have the commitment to de-weaponize. And the process is working out right now, but we're gonna prove whether or not these are just token set-asides or if they're actually willing to put their money where their mouth is and de-weaponize. Separate than that, very active on the de-weaponization front here in DC. I think everyone out there, even the people on the inside of the administration, know that accountability isn't being meted out as quickly as we'd like. We're trying to work with our partners to ensure that it actually does happen. And then in the states, we're going to start suing some governors pretty quick here. There's a lot of resistance actors using government funds to stand in the way of the mandate and to basically use their dying blue states as a political platform for their 2028 presidential campaigns to be, the biggest fly in the ointment of President Trump. And so we're going to give them some of their own music right back at them. And we'll stay on top of the nonprofits that are interrupting the mandate for mass deportations. I was with border czar Tom Homan yesterday, and he committed to looking into this Red Cross matter. So I expect there'll be more action on that soon.
And my last one, you went from Oversight Project to It's Your Gov on X. Tell everybody what's going on there.
So It's Your Gov is our slogan because, everyone needs a slogan. And so we're still the Oversight Project, but Heritage announced a couple of weeks ago that the Oversight Project is becoming its own entity. So we are more legally and structurally nimble and able to do all of those things that I laid out. We made a lot of noise leading up to the 2024 election, but given the change in the battlefield, so to speak, we needed to legally restructure ourselves so we can fight not just across the country, but as you saw around the world. And that means a change of all sorts of things. We'll be a C4 organization for you IRS nerds out there. It means we can be more overtly political because, frankly, these are political fights. This is the left trying to commandeer your government tax dollars to not only further an invasion, but to undermine basically every system in the world. And we can't be afraid to say that for tax compliance reasons.